Hello, welcome back. So, in today's episode, we still have a lot to implement, and I'm just going to show you what we are going to implement in the next couple of hours. So, what we went and added on to this form, we know all of us we can reach at this point. So, a person comes the first time and they fill in the form. So let's remember the objective. So we have two objectives. The first objective is to give the experience when a user is filling in a marked form, he can fill in this step, he goes to the next step, he fills in the data. If he goes into the back to the previous step, he should find the state of the entire data. Okay, that is the first experience, and that is when he is filling in the form the first time, and we are keeping the state for that period he is filling in. The second scenario is when this person actually stops on maybe step number 4. So he steps on step number 4, and then he leaves the page. Maybe he doesn't have this information, or he wants to go and look for more information and come back and fill in. We want also to keep the state, save the data in the database, and when he comes back, we can track him back to this level. And that is where we are right now. So just going to first get the first time this person comes to this page. Let's go in and fill in some data. Okay, and let's just go and save. So you can see saving, please wait. So the doctor profile has been created and the tracking number has been generated. Okay, I'm just going to copy this tracking number for use in the future. Then let's fill in some more. So he goes ahead and fills in step number 2, picking this. Okay, let's just go ahead and also fill in maybe some documents. So the image, okay, just does this. So I'm filling in the information right now. So go ahead and save this. I'm just waiting to save this. Okay, save. Okay, profile info updated. So we are on this. Let me go ahead and also fill in this. Save. So all this information right now is being saved in two places. It's being saved in the context API and at the same time in the database. So we can retrieve this data in the form back from the context. So if I go to the previous step, you see the data is in the context and it is live. Okay. Now I'm just going to fill in also the step. I want us to see the step we have reached on. So services, they just put specialties, special 1 for purposes of remembering them, special 2. Okay. You can just go ahead and upload these files. Let's add one PDF. Okay. And this, okay, save. So this have been saved. So I could just go ahead and I also save this. Okay. So let's say we save up to this point. Let me also go and add hospital services. Go and say service 1, service 2. Okay, and let's save. Okay, so this is the last step. He's supposed to add this, and he realized he has to know this information. Right now, of course, he can't just go to these previous ones, and he can go ahead and update this information. Okay, he can just go and update. He can also just go to this step and fills in. So for the purposes of demonstrating, let's assume that this person has to know this information. He has to know this information, and what he's going to do is exit. So he could just put exit button, but for now, what he probably does is close the page and just goes back to his work. And later on, after like 5 days, he can go back to retrieve the information. So just go and say right now he stops on this point, or for some reason power goes or the page gets closed. Now he will just go back to our uh, localhost 3000. Okay, now we didn't copy the we're just going to see it from the database. We didn't copy the we didn't copy the tracking number. You're supposed to copy the tracking number. So just go back to this side down here where they say list your service, and then at this point he can just go back and resume application. Okay, of course these links they will be put also on the front end, but for now they're here. So in the case on resume application, they will ask him to put in the tracking number. So just for this time, let me just go ahead and get the tracking number from the database since I didn't copy it. The tracking number is this one. Okay. Let's go ahead and just paste this. Remember, we stopped on step number, I think 4 5. So now we redirect to exact place, practice information, okay, and see that we actually still have the data. Okay, so we have all this data. If you go back, you see that we actually have the data. Okay, so this, you may think it is easy, but you're going to see the hassle you're going to go through to implement this. And if you like seeing how you're going to implement this, let's watch, let's get started together. Hello, welcome back. So in today's episode, we're just going to continue from where we stopped. So from the last episode, we're able to add data from biodata, profile, contact, education. So I just went ahead and added data for practice information. I'm just going to show you the that part. So if you go to our onboarding, we have all these forms. So this one is the practice information. We have practice info form. This is exactly what we did like in all other sections for the biodata, education, and other steps. Okay, get all the data here, and you have the data object, and then send these data objects to the update info with the form ID plus the data. And when that one is done, then you can push to the next page. Okay, the same thing to additional information. If you go to the additional information, you'll see that I have I have done the same thing, add the data here, and then go to the next page. Okay, now after making actually some research about the availability, so availability will not be part of these steps. Simply this one can be modified all the time. So this availability will be actually in the dashboard. Okay, so when the doctor, after they have added this information, bio, additional information, now when they log in to their dashboard, then they will go ahead and set availability. Okay, so this availability we're just going to keep because at the end of the day it will have its own model. Okay, so this availability it is so big because if you look at how we are going to store it, so I was looking at the way how we are going to store all this information. If you look at this, you need to store the days, the working days, working hours, and more information, like public holidays and so on and so forth. So that one requires us to actually save this data as to have its own model. You're not going to save it as part of this one as if it is only one field. It needs a whole model. Okay, So due to that, we need to add it in the dashboard. So I'm just going to go ahead and remove it from the steps, and its form also remove it from here. We are going to see it when we go to the dashboard. So I'm just going to go ahead and go to the steps, which are onboarding steps. And these steps, it is very easy to remove a step. I'll just come and comment out this. Okay, so when you comment out this, that's all you need to do. It will stop appearing from here and eventually also from here. So you can now go to this is not no longer going to be there. And we have also to change the next page for the previous step, which was pushing to availability. So this one, okay. So this the next step, we can just say end, and this is where the, or we just make this one final. This is going to be the final step. Okay. So with that being in mind, that means after this information have been submitted for the additional steps, the user has to be redirected to the login. Okay, so instead on the additional information, I'm just going to edit the time so that the user can be redirected to the login. So here the user will be redirected, and at this point, it would be also great if you send them a welcome email. Okay, we would say we send a welcome email. Mm, I don't know if it is. Yeah, we need to send them a welcome email before we proceed to push them here. So when everything is okay here, they have updated the last one. We have sent a welcome email. Okay, we have sent a welcome email. Okay, so send a welcome email. Then after that, we'll route them to the login. Okay, from where they can go to the dashboard. Okay, so the two things we have right now to work on is to make sure that for each of these steps, we can access the information that the user filled in the previous time. So for this step, educational information, let me first go and remove these existing data, the one that we had coded here for purposes of uh, filling in the form. Okay, and then also I think there is one in the profile information. We need to also remove that hard coded image. Here, what problem do we have? So this one, we need to go ahead and put this as the docs are of type file. So I'm just going to say here file, and you get this file from the Multistep. Okay, and this is an array of it. To take away this, it is of this type here. Then next is now that we have all this empty, let's first remove this image. So from profile info, we can just go ahead and remove this image that is existing here on this profile image. Okay. Then we have an error. Maybe we just initialize it as an empty string. Okay. Can just initialize it as an empty string, and then that's it. So we can also clean up things we have not used from these forms you can start from up here, and all unused things, just go ahead and clean them out. It's not good to leave all unnecessary things that you did not use. Okay, so if you find you did not use something, simply remove it, because at the time of in production, all these things, these components will be loaded and they take actual time. So all these that you didn't use in a particular section, just simply take your time and remove all these things that we did not use, so that you have a compact code. Okay, you don't have to use all these things that you did not actually use. Okay, they just go to the second one. Actual availability is not there, so just go ahead and uh, go to this next one. Go to contact info. So all these things you did not use. And by the way, for each step we're supposed to add toasters. I don't know if we, let me go to additional information. After this, before we route, we are supposed to actually toast. Okay, you can just say, for instance, toast. You can just go ahead after sending the email, and you can just say toast dot success. Toast dot success, and you can just say for this one, profile completed successfully. Okay, so you just have to just copy this toast. We shall just add it on all the pages. Biodata, I think here we already have a toast. Yep. This is the contact info. So after this, in the try catch, so here you can toast to go ahead and say, for instance, contact info updated successfully. Go to the next. So here, after we have done everything before we route, we could just say, for instance, this is educational info, and then we have the practice. Okay, and then finally we have the profile. And then now we can also just go ahead and remove all the things we did not use from this. Just all the things we did not use, simply go ahead and remove them. Okay, so now that's great. So the next thing now, we need to actually populate this with the data. Okay, so the easiest way that we have the tracking number plus the form ID, we can actually go ahead and fetch the data. So in this onboarding steps, Okay, so this is seeing a use client. So we have to go to a more, we need to have a way of getting data to this page. So the easiest way is we have the ID. So you can just go to this onboarding, upfront, onboarding ID, and then this point here. We can use this ID to get the doctor profile. So you can just say const existing profile. So just going to say we have to get the existing uh, doctor profile. Okay, I have to get the existing doctor profile if it already exists. So I'm just going to go ahead and hit this. Can I just go to the actions, and I'm just going to go on boarding. So I need to get I will have to get the information. I'm just going to simply duplicate this and just say get doctor profile by use ID or by ID. Okay. So here what we want is to get the doctor profile. Okay. So we're just going to pass in the ID of the doctor. Okay. We need to pass in the doctor ID. So with this, after we have the ID, remember this doctor is the doctor ID. We need to go ahead and do, for instance, existing. It's not going to be existing profile. Okay. Now we'll try to get the existing profile. Mm, we'll try to get the existing profile. Let me just try to get here. Existing profile. So I'm just going to see, this is going to be existing user. Mm, First wait. So before we go this far, let's just first wait. Okay. So let me just first go back to the onboarding. So let's say the doctor is on the biodata. This is the step number 1. Okay. So the step number 1 is going to go ahead and fill in all this information. So for this step is that we actually have this data here. Okay. So we can also just go ahead and create for instance, the doctor data. Okay, so I'm just going to go and say, for instance, uh, const, okay, doctor initial data. Maybe just create initial data. Okay, and just going to create initial data anyways. Initial data set initial data is equal to use state. Okay, so we're just going to have this as the initial data. Okay, so now we just need um, we just need to actually extract this information. Okay. So on this here, we need to create an object, okay, from the response. So this initial data, we can also give it of type. I don't know if it is necessary. I think for simplicity, we can also give it type any, I guess. Let's first try to see how this will go. So remember, we have the response, and from the response, we can also get the data. Okay. So here we can also go ahead and set the initial data. So set initial data. Okay. We can set the initial data at this point. Uh, set the initial data, and we can just say raise dot data. Okay. So of course at this point, we can just go ahead and give a type to this. Now, eventually this is going to be passed in the use form here. And use form is expecting this type of information. Okay. So what we can just do is we can just go ahead and create an object of this format. Okay. We can just go ahead and create information of this format. Let me just copy it. We have an object uh, of this nature. Of this nature. Let me just copy this. In fact, let me just go to the biodata and just copy this. So we need just an object of this format. Okay. So we could just go ahead and say biodata, and then down here we can just say const. Okay, const saved data is equal to, I'm just going to paste this object here, just like this. Okay, so first name would eventually be, for instance, so you could just go and also extract here const. You could just say data is equal raise. So you could just get the data out of raise, and so here we can just say, for instance, first name is data dot, okay, first name. So go next, and we got last name, put comma here, and just go here, last name. So last name would be data dot first name, and then here would be data dot, so this would be data dot data dot uh, this is data dot middle name, not that middle name, put comma here. Dob would be data dot dob, gender would be data dot gender. Then here will be, for instance, data uh, dot page. Okay, and then use ID. So we have here use ID. So most importantly, we don't need, I think, for the page and this. Okay, we don't need that, and we could just go ahead, but just put, since it is just the same object. Page is data dot page. User ID will be data dot user ID, and finally the tracking number would be, so tracking number would be data dot tracking number. Okay, data dot, okay, there is no tracking number. I don't know why I'm not getting any suggestions here. Data dot, uh, it actually just, okay, the tracking number is there. So use ID, just put a comma here. There, just remove this. Okay. This is the object dob. Go ahead and put a comma here. Okay. So instead here we just need to give save data, and we could just, of course, just say that this is of type the biodata from props, and that means even this, where is initial data. So let's just say initial data is of type biodata from props, just like this. And then here we have everything in red. Type string undefined, cannot be assigned type string. So I guess here we have to give it a default. For most of these ones, just go ahead and give them a default. Okay, just in case we don't find any information. And of course, this one, let's first leave this one is not a string, then this is string or undefined, so this one is okay. Page, use ID and the tracking number. So for this one is saying date, null or undefined, so this one has 3. So we could just say so what is going to be this type now, conversion date. Okay, so could just go ahead and just say it cannot just be maybe null. what are we just going to do for the date? What default can we give it? So date. How about putting this? So you could also put this null assertion operator that says this will always be there. Okay. Even on these ones, you would do that, but we have that one done. So when someone creates, we simply want to set this initial data to saved data. Okay. So after you have saved, now this, we can store this, and we can also, I guess, pass this. I don't know if this will work, guys. We might get a better alternative. So we just go ahead and just say initial data. So you can just say here initial not initial default values. Not here, sorry. So just go to the use form. So why you see use form here, you can pass in an object and you say default values, and this you can just say, for instance, is equal to the initial data, just like this. Okay, that means if it initial data is there, then you can just have all this information picked from there, for instance here. Okay, so we just need to get a new user and we test with that information. Let's first go to the second one. How would we now get the second one? So alternatively, for the second one, you could do the same exact thing, or we could actually fetch the existing data. Okay, so I was also thinking the alternative method to this is checking if the data already exists. So most times, like for the first time, this data is not there. So that means if you go and fetch using the doctor, you are not going to get anything, because maybe the data you can only get is for this after they have created the first time. But if it is the first time filling this form, high chances are they don't have the data in the database. So we need to actually advise other means. Okay, now the other means is that you can see that here we have the biodata. Okay, so another chance it would be that every time we save, okay, so for instance we go to biodata, save, it gets all this data, saves it in the database, as well as in the maybe using the context API. So we could just save this data in the context. So it saves it in database as well as in the context API. So when we go to the next part, we do the same thing, fill in all this information. Meanwhile, we can fetch the data here from the context API. Okay, we can fetch this data from the context API, and that would be really great. Okay, so I think we need to take in that approach. Okay, would take in that approach. Um, so one thing we need to have is of course the initial data. So whatever we just did here, okay, would be simply updating, would simply get this res.data and we update in the context API. I think that would be easy and it works for all forms. Okay, this one would work temporarily for this form, and actually it works for all forms, because We'll do the same thing. We extract for this part, extract for this part, extract for this part, extract for this part, and also extract for this part individually like this. But I think that would be hard. Is it? Mm, let's first try for before we add. Let's first try like this, and we see if this concept actually works. So what I'm just going to do is actually going to the context API and remove. Let me just go to the context API. Where is context? And let's remove these default values. We have, I'm just going to go to, so you don't have any default values now. I'm just going to simply go to, I need to go to, I need to have access to Prisma Studio. Okay, so I'm just going to go and get a profile, any profile, not any user here. Let me just get any user here. I'm just going to get any ID. Okay. Just go ahead and type here this ID here. And let me also remove this page, reload. So now at this point, let's try to feed in some information. Pick a date. I'm just going to pick any date here and try to submit. Okay, so it was created. So you see your tracking number is this. Okay, so just try to go back to the first biodata. So you see we got the first biodata. Even when we set this information, we actually don't have the we don't actually have where is this in the components onboarding biodata. So even when we have this saved data, and I believe it is there, and you're trying to use it as the initial trying to use it as the initial here in the default values, you can see it actually doesn't work. Okay, so now we need to get a way how we are going to get this. I'm just going to use a context API plus plus saving to the database. Okay, so what we need to do is to decide. So either we can create, for instance, each for this individual parts, or we could create for each for this whole entire thing. Okay, so how would we do that? Just a second. So let's go ahead and try to implement the context. So as we said, we are planning to use a combination of saving data to the database and after we save the data to the context API. So that we use context API for the temporary holding of data as the user is filling in at that time. So you can imagine the first time the user is trying to fill in the information and move around just like this. So the saving of data separate in the database is that when it is a big form, there are high chances of this person failing to finish up the form. And it is so bad that after they have come, like after like 3 days or after a week, they had stopped on the third step and they cannot go back to the step to continue from where he stopped. So for that case, we have two scenarios. We have the short-term period of keeping state, that is, if the user is feeding data in real time, okay, it is weird if a person goes back to the previous step, and however much you save the data into the database, they want to see their data and still modify it in real time. So we have keeping of state that very time the person is filling in the data, and also keeping the data for a long period. Like a person goes after a week, they come back, they still find their data. So we have to use a combination of the context API plus a combination of the database. Okay, so in this case, let's try to implement the context API to keep this data. So here we already have the data saved to the database. That functionality, we finished it. Now what we need is to get the data in real time. So in real time, what we will just do, we'll have to go to the context API. So we have context API here, and we already some data we are tracking on right now. Interface, onboarding, context API. So you can see right now we are only tracking the tracking number and the doctor profile ID. So we can also track, you can just add here, we can also track the form data. Okay, we can just go ahead and just also just get control to the form data. For instance, I could just come and I say I also want to get biodata. So for instance, I could just say biodata and I define that this is biodata from props is of this type. Okay, and wherever you have this, you can also set set bio data. Okay, and this is going to be a function that takes in data of type bio data from props, and then it will return void. Okay, so we can just have something like this, and when you add it here, you have to eventually add it in the initial data. So in the initial data, you have to simply come and where do we, so we can just say come here and we say const initial bio data, and you can just go ahead and say this is equal to, and you can just quickly go to this. I'm just going to come here, get all this, Control C, and then when I just come here on this, I can just quickly paste it here. So this is going to be this, and by the way, you can just go ahead and replace this with just a comma. Okay, so let's just go here, middle name, initialize it with that. So for the date, as we said, what is the problem here? So just go ahead and initialize all this data just like this. Okay, so initialize this. So we have this initialized, and I'm just going to use this initial data and just come here and say bio data is initial data like this. And you can also just duplicate this for the set biodata. Okay, so you have to have this initial data that we are going to pass in here. And we have some errors so far. Okay, let's see where this one's originating. I've added in two things, the biodata and set biodata. Then in this initial biodata, let me just remove this. So in this initial biodata, I've defined the initial data here. And then, and for this case, more especially for this date of birth, because of the nature of this, I could just change it temporarily. Go here, and this, we could just change it to any. I guess this won't affect anything. Okay. And then we have one more error in the values. So here we have context values. I'm just going to come also define one more thing here. Const, I'm just going to have bio data set bio data, and this is equal to use state, and then we can just pass in here initial biodata, just like this. Okay, and then here I'm just also going to go ahead and then pass in the bio data, and then also set biodata. I'm just going to pass in all these two functions. Now I'm having one error here, which is saying tracking number, set tracking number, blah blah, set profile. Then just saying types of properties set are incompatible. Set biodata. First name, last name, then data biodata from props, value and data are incompatible. Is not same type set action. What are we missing here? uh we said that for this biodata, we gave it this. Is it just because of this middle name? Mm-hmm. Okay. Let's just go ahead and see if this originates from here. So we have this. It can have type any, middle name, uh, I'm just also going to make it any. Use ID is a string, so use ID, let me just make it a string. Just streamline this somehow, just like this. Okay, because they're always comparing what you are defining as initial value, and now you can see we have no problem in the context. Okay, that means our data we have in the context. Now we have the biodata class. They said biodata. Okay, so this activity has to be done for all the forms. Okay, we have to do for the biodata, and I'm just going to show you for a few forms, and we try them and we see. So I'm just going to put the second form so that we can see if this data is persisted. So we have from the biodata, we have profile. So you can just go here, do the same thing. Start by adding the two functions here. So I will duplicate this, and I have profile data. So you say profile data, and then this one is going to be set profile data, and this one is going to be for profile form props, and then this one also be profile form props, and then just go ahead and we have to add this inside here. Okay, so you have to create its own initial data. So just go ahead and just create this. Okay, initial data. So you're just going to say initial profile data, and the easiest way that I've told you is coming here and just copy everything in the profile, just like this, and streamline. You can just have this profile picture, and then for the date, you just use any. For the default date is going to be hard, so just copy this, and then let's go and paste this in here. Profile picture is going to be string, so this one we give it a just like this. I'm just going to do the same thing I did for all these, turn them into commas. For this string, just put double quotes just like this. Okay, for this, okay, so here we have just like this. Now you can just go ahead, and define this. Now we have initial profile data. I can add this in here, duplicate, and you can just say set profile profile data, and this is profile data. Okay, make sure this is taking in initial profile data. Okay, profile data, set profile data. Okay, so go and define initial profile data. Then we have initial form data. Okay, so this is, let me just say, initial context data, maybe to be very clear, context data, just pass it here. Initial context data, so just see what is happening. We have tracking number, doctor profile, blah blah. Type number, so this is why we have type number. And what is that? Let's first look in this. First name, gender, page, user ID, tracking number. I don't know if tracking number has, let's see, in this biodata. So what does the tracking number has? Tracking number is a string. So I guess it is in the profile form, while we have years of experience as a number. So years of experience, just initialize it as 0. So years of experience, put 0. And we still remain with one issue, which is on the context values. And this still must be just coming from these data types. So just look at the data one more time. Initial profile, profile picture, page, medical license. So just look at the medical license. So this, we have string, 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 string. And I think that's the only number we have. Okay. And I'm just going to go ahead and define this, of course, const profile data. So profile data is set profile data, which is equal to use state, and let's pass in initial profile data, just like this. And I'm just going to go ahead and add this also set. So set profile data with the profile data itself. Okay, so we have all these now added in the context. Okay, so these we need to send them. We are sending them in the context. Now we can just go and use them. So for instance, if I go to the onboarding, I can just go in the onboarding on the biodata, and we have some errors. Do we? Data.user ID is not assignable to type string. Why was the data user ID? Is it because in here was we passed it in here as not required? Okay. Is there any possibility of saying this as string? Yeah. So you can just say as string, put this keyword as string, and that one will be simply taking it as a string. So now we have the biodata, so we can just go ahead and get this from the context. So on top here, where we had like this initial, we can just say const, just get bio. So you just extract this from the context. So you just say bio data and set bio data. You are getting this from use context something, use onboarding context. Okay, we're just getting this from the onboarding context, and I will pass the biodata into the use form. So here in the use form, I'm just going to go ahead and say default values, and I'm just going to set it to biodata. And then for down here, after saving here, I'm just going to say set biodata. I'm just going to simply pass in the, so I could just pass in res.data, but I'm just going to pass in the, I think data, just like this. Not from this one, I think. So this one will be this data here. Okay, so just come save that data. Okay, and you could just actually just do it here. You could just either save it from there, or you could just save it from here. Okay, after we have saved the data from here, then we send it here. Okay, and just add this here. So now we are good to go. Just going to do the same thing to the profile data. So let me just go to the profile. Okay, I'm just going to first remove all unused information. Okay, so from the use onboarding context, we're just going to get profile data, and also set profile data. Cool. And then the profile data itself, we are going to pass in the use form. So here pass in default values. I'm just going to pass in as profile data. Okay. And then after we are saving this data, you can just go somewhere where we are calling this. Just go ahead and say set profile data, and let's pass in data. Okay, as simple as that. So now we need to go ahead and test this whole concept. Let's go and test this whole concept, and to do that we just need first delete. I can just go and first delete existing profile just in case. So delete these ones. We can just go and just get any user like this one. So we are on the first one. Let me refresh. I'm just going to go ahead and feed in this pick a date mail. So let me just go ahead and save this to database. So it was saved and I've pushed to the next place. Let me go and save this profile information. And by the way, you can see here years of experience already we have 0. Okay, and so we can just go ahead and say save this years of experience. Let me put 10, and let's go ahead and upload some files. The profile image, I'm just going to put this. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and save this information. So save and continue. Please select your license. Okay, okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and I think refresh for this case. And that one means we're just going to lose our, why did I leave this set loading? Where is it? So it's loading, so we have it true. So not until you have any errors. uh, okay, let me just refresh. Okay, so our key is gone. If you refresh the page, even the biodata is gone because like we have refreshed the page. So the easy way is just go ahead and delete this profile. Like we have one profile here, just go ahead and delete this. And by the way, that is a big problem if a person, so they just handle set is loading very well. So if someone, we could also just go here in this before we return set is loading to false. Okay, and also on the same for the biodata where we have that check, we could just come here, just say it is loading to false. Okay, avoid that problem of loading the button, and the button, if it is loading, there is no way. I think it is also good to say cancel. Okay, here when it is loading, instead of saying disabling it, you could change it to cancel. We shall just see that in the future. So now we have deleted the other one. Let me just go ahead and push one more time. And see this, if I just do this, so now you can see it has also stopped the loading. Okay, so that it is nice. So just go and just save this. Okay, so the profile was created. So just go ahead and put in this, pick a date. Let's just pick any date and go ahead and pick any file. Let's put again this file, upload. And for this image, I think in the future, I'm just going to look for the way of auto upload. When you just drop in the file, it should just automatically start uploading without clicking. So save. So this is saved. We are on the third one. So just go back to the previous stage and you can see the data is maintained, but a few ones like the date plus the image, they are not there. So we can also just get these ones. So for instance, from the profile, if you go for instance on the profile info, there is this data that is not actually being maintained by the used form, more especially the data that is outside here. For instance, the profile image and the expire date. Let me remove this one. So these two data, for instance, this and this one, they are not actually maintained from that. I'm just going to get them and drop them down. So for these two, I'm just going to drop them here so that I just go ahead and define the initial data for them. So we are getting this initial data. For instance, I can say const initial expiry date, expiry date. Okay, so it is equal to profile. So I'm just going to say this is from profile data. So just going to say profile data dot. So you can just say we set it this to the medical, was it medical license expiry, and we could just go ahead and pass in this. We pass in here where there is expiry, and I'm just going to pass it in here. And the same thing for the profile image. I'm just going to say initial profile image. So const initial profile image is equal to profile data dot the profile picture. Okay, so just come here and let's set this to this. So now if you just go back, we should have some default values, okay, including the date. Okay, so this is nice. And if you just go back to the biodata, we have the same thing. We have to define for this date of birth, for instance. So I'm just going to come here and they say date of birth. Where is date of birth? So I'm just going to go ahead and copy this. And just go to the biodata. So here on the biodata, let's just go down here. And we have this. I can just go ahead, just go down here. And I say initial date DOB is equal to biodata. So just going to get the biodata. Biodata dot, and we can just have DOB dot DOB. I'm just going to set it as the initial here. Okay, and now when you just go back on the UI, the date is populated, the one we had picked. Okay, so using this concept, we can just populate the whole entire. So let me just go through very fast. I will just think you pause for a second. I'm just going to pause for a second, fill in all this information, and I'll be back. So after a while, I went ahead and populated in all this information. You can see this was a lot of work. So I added all the forms in the state here, in the context API. I added in all that data, the initial for all of them. Okay, initial context and all this. Okay. So of course, I didn't do all this hard work. I want to show you the easiest way how you can do this, and you can take advantage of ChatGPT. I want to give you, for instance, a command. I gave it so that it can generate for me some of these things, and you should use AI in most of your work. Don't just get worried. It is those ones who don't know programming who think their jobs are going to be taken away from the AI. AI is simply another calculator. If it's just simplifying our work as developers, instead of doing a lot of work that is not so much useful, go ahead and use this. So I just told it here. Create for me the initial values for the forms. Only only contact data I gave it these. So to show you, I just been using it above here to generate some of the things. So go ahead and do some get data from the context and pass that data to the use form hook, blah blah like that. You can use it as you are learning. Those ones who are getting, I think I will create a dedicated tutorial for using ChatGPT in your workflow. You need to understand how to use your chat gpt in your day-to-day workflow so that you simplify some of those simple tasks instead of wasting time on them. Okay, so some of the tasks you simply chat gpt, it gives you what you want. It's not going to build for us the whole medical app, but if it can help us do some small part, however much, keep in mind you are the one in control. Sometimes it doesn't know some other concepts, like the new concepts. If you're just like using a free version, keep that in mind. You just ask it something, it might not know some actions in Next.js, so you need to be guiding it all the time. But most of the times it gets the work done. Okay, you just simply pass in, for instance, give it some data, go and pass in all your types. Okay, you can pass in all your types and then explain to it that I'm trying to make this work in the context API, and then it will do you some of the work and task it to explain it also. Okay, so that when you just come, we can just be on advanced concepts, so that the small concepts can be handled by ChatGPT. At the end of the day, you are the master and you need to know. That's why we are making tutorials. Otherwise, you would go on ChatGPT and get everything. But the problem is, it ChatGPT only helps a person who is advanced to that level. It cannot teach you context API if you have never used context API. If I'm already knowing context API and I'm asking ChatGPT, I know exactly what I want it to do and I will be guiding it in that direction. Okay. So after filling in, let's go ahead and test this. So I'm just going to go ahead for these or other forms. I'm just going to do the same thing. For instance, the education here. So on top of this, I just need to go ahead and get this biodata. So I'm just going to say const. I'm just going to go and say education. So I'm just going to say this is from use. I think this onboarding context, just like this. And then here, I think it can suggest for us what is there. And you can see, I can just say this is education and set education. Okay, I just need these two things. First of all, I just need to first pass into the context. So wherever I have the not context, wherever I have the use form, where is my use form? Okay, so this is not supposed to be in here. It's supposed to be outside. Sorry. So this is better. You just define it at most on top here, and then you can first pass this in this. So we can first pass in the default values, and we just say education biodata, and then after that we can look at the files that are, of course, we just go ahead and save. So where we are having this, let's go ahead and say it education data, we save data just like this. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead also and set these other ones. So if you just go here now on this, where is it? On this, now this is, we have refreshed so many times. Let's first fill in for all of them, then later on we're just going to add in. So for instance, uh, we have other specialties. So you can just say const initial specialties is equal to profile, not a profile, but education data dot, and you can just say other specialties. And let me fix this spelling here. Specialties. Just going to just use it the way it is. So just come here and pass in this, and you can just say initial special. Okay, just use that. And then for these files, we are also going to say, for instance, const initial docs is equal to education data dot I think it's board certificates, and you can just come and pass this in here just like that. Now we have to go and look at this. For instance, It is an array of strings which we need to rectify. The easy way would be going in the context, I guess, or we could just define it from this side. I don't know. So if you just go on the education, so the board certificates here, we could just put file and import file from uh, form inputs. Let's see where this one is coming from. Form inputs, yes. So just put in that, and then when you come to the context, why we have the initial data for the education here on the board. It is saying it is an array. This, of course, empty array. I think that's the only thing we need to do. Which problem do we have now? Now saving this. Okay, so the easiest way is to give it type any, so that we handle everything by ourselves. So I'm just going to go types and educational. Where is educational? So I'm just going to say this to any. Okay, so that one will just give us peace. Everything is now okay, just like this. Initial docs, and those are the only ones. So now when you just go to the next, we have done additional, so you just go on additional information. So make sure you are on top here. So const this from use onboarding context, and let's just go ahead and get the additional and set additional, and then we could just get these documents. So you can see we have the same issue here. We could just say const initial docs is equal to additional data dot additional docs, and let's come and pass in this here initial docs. Okay, so this gives us an error, and as we said, the easiest way to handle this is go here additional, and you can just say this is any. Okay, and let's go ahead and pass in this here default values to additional data. Sorry, additional data. Then when we go here after this, let's say set additional data to data, as simple as that. Okay, next is bio contact. So just go on top here, let's just say const, and let's get from use onboarding context, let's get the contact data, set contact data, and then you need to update this in two places, and the first one is here. set contact to data, and then just outside here in this context, in the use form, passing default values to contact data. Okay, great, just like that. um so we have done for education. We have practice, so you can just go here and get for the one for the practice. So let me just go in here on top. So const is equal to use onboarding. Let's go ahead and get the one of practice and set practice. So update this in different places. So we have services. So we could just say const initial services is equal to practice data dot services offered, and then let's go ahead and pass this in here as initial services. The same thing to the languages, so just go ahead and say const initial languages, the spelling of language is equal to practice data dot, as if we actually dropped languages. Just a second. If you just go to this form of practice, let's just first remove this to just cause us error issues. So this like that. So if you just go in here, we actually don't have languages, so we have services only. So we don't have languages. I removed it. There was no need of languages. So even here, remove them. We're not using them. So you have services and insurance. So just go here. Const initial insurance status is equal to practice data dot insurance, and just come and use this here, initial insurance status. Okay, make sure you pass this in default values, passing the practice data, and then continue to this here, set practice data, and save it to passing data. Okay, so great. And then finally, we have done additional bio, contact, education, practice. We are remaining, I think, with on the profile, of which we also have profile. Okay, so we have done all of them. So right now we just need to go ahead and create a new one. So let me just go clear this. I'm just going to first go ahead in the Prisma and I see if I have any profile. Just get this profile, delete it. Okay, so just go ahead and Let's just go ahead and save this. So just pick a date, 29, save. Okay, so in the second one, fill in all this, pick a date, then here, let's choose a file. Okay, okay, save. So contact information, let's go ahead and save. So go to this, mental health, add specialties. I'm just going to say, for instance, surgery, uh, whatever, medicine. Okay, then let's apply some docs. Just going to upload only one. Okay, save and continue. So we have this, go in and fill all this. Add hospital services, nursing. Okay, medicine, whatever you want to fill in here. Save. So here we have practice. Seems we have an error. Did it just have like any error on the practice? Let's first check on the practice. If you have everything tested, you should just have be okay, save. Okay, for some reason, something weird is happening, which can be told from down here. Uh, so languages spoken. I don't know if we are still adding them. Data, hospital name, services offered, languages spoken. When do we have languages spoken? Where is it coming from? Uh, oh, I think this part, is it part of this? Uh, just you can see the UI languages spoken were removed. So simply remove them from this. This is part of the practice. You could just go to the practice and let me just disable languages and context is making a noise. I think we had given languages. Okay, so right now I think everything must be okay. Let's just go here, and here we lose all the data. So we have to fill in one more time, but it's okay. Let's just go and deal uh with it with additional. So now we have to start one more time. Go ahead and delete. Just go and refresh. So we have this one. Delete this. Okay. So I'm just going to go ahead and fill in the data. The hard way is the only way because the errors in the app, the owner of the app should be the first to experience all the errors as much as you can so that the client does not have to experience these errors. Okay. You are the owner of the app, so just sit with your errors and sort them out. So all these times is necessary because we need to test and test all scenarios that can happen or that would most likely to happen when a client is saving in their data. Okay, so this is smooth. Uh, I'm just going to add only one here. For the academic docs, I need to still add something. And those people who don't like test their data, if it is a redundant work, it is necessary that you sit on your form and make sure everything is working the way you want. Okay. So it is nice that we're here filling in this. Just add only one. Okay. So finally we are on this. So now before we fill in this one, okay, you can see if we go back in the previous, we can see all the data that was filled in, including like these ones. So all the data is there, education, all the data is there, contact, all the data is there. And the good thing is that this data is as well in the database. Okay, so this data is as well in the database. Okay, which is a good thing. Okay, so for this last one, we need to save this, create an email, send it to a welcome email to the user. Okay, we have to send the welcome email and then also route them to the login. And then finally, we push them to the dashboard. So one thing or one scenario is that what we said is that I want to take a scenario whereby a person now loses this, okay? And we need to recover this person to this form after where he is before. So I just copy this. So when I copy this like this, now I just need to close this form. So assuming the client now has filled in and he has no this data in the additional information, he has no this data, he is going to look for it. So he decides now to stop here. Okay. You could even put exit. Okay. Or you simply just close the this. Now let's go back and look for this person. So I will just duplicate this and let me just go localhost 3000, scroll down to where we have list your service. So this is the where we find the doctor's landing page, which is this one. So they can just come and say, resume the application. So click on this, okay, and they are taken to this resume your application, enter a 10 tracking number. So they just go ahead and paste it. And by the way, if you try to put anything uh, submit, you will see that you will get a wrong tracking number. So just put the right one. So when you put the right one, we expect to be routed to our state or our form. So you could just go ahead and submit. So submit to resume. And we are brought to the step we were in before, because the additional step, we did not fill it. The step that was saved was actually practice information. And unfortunately, you can see we actually don't have this data. So in that case, what are we going to do? Because in this case, the user already has some information. This person here already have some data. Okay, this person already have some data. Okay, so what we can just also do is we can create a server action on onboarding. So we have to create a server action whereby we have to get back, for instance, we have to get the profile data of this existing user. So we have the only information we have actually is the tracking number. Okay, so the advantage is we have the tracking number. Okay, so now what we would also do, okay, on this point where we are retrieving the tracking number, let's think about it. So we have the resume page. Where is the resume page, guys? Resume page. Front doctors join onboarding, then resume. So we have this resume page. Oh, we even have an error of the role. What is this error talking about? Type is undefined. Type intrinsic property role does not exist. Okay, we're just going to work on that, but let's just work on the form. So we have this form, and this one will be verified tracking number. Okay, this form. So when you just come here, we have access to the ID, this tracking number. Let me just first see, do we need even a role? So in the tracking form, we actually don't need anything. Okay, if you look at this resume page, let me just go a little bit, duplicate, and let me just go back. Okay, just like here. So you see here, we don't have any ID or anything like this. So we don't actually need all these things on the resume. So here on the resume, we actually don't need anything. We only pass in what? I don't think we are passing in anything here. Okay, so that means that literally this is not there, and all this also is not there. I don't know if I'm right. So when you go to the tracking form, the only thing it expects you is to enter the tracking form. Let's just also remove all these, and I use the stuff. all these. There's no way using the user role, the link. So we leave only the things we are using. So you can see that here we only just have this, and we try to actually get a weight application, get application by track. Okay, so you can see this data dot tracking. So we pass in a tracking number, and let's go to this. If you see, this is returning the existing profile. Okay, so this is returning the existing profile, this, and so we have this doctor profile, and let's see the return. So return, we have this existing profile. So the whole entire profile, we have access to it here. And this is also something we can also save. Okay, we have the whole entire profile here. So how are we going to get this? Okay, so I'm just going to say, let me see. So if you want to just say existing profile, if I just come here and I say const existing profile, so we are able to get it back on the tracking form here. Okay, so at this point, after getting it back here, I can just go ahead and save this to the context. Okay, we could save this to the context API. Okay, so we save this to the context API, and from this we can manipulate our way, somewhere. Okay, we can manipulate and see that we can maneuver back to this here. Okay, because the existing profile has all this data as well. Okay, it has all this data. So how are we going to get that information, or get this information from there? Okay, so I'm also going to create this in the context. So let me just go ahead and visit the context, and I see if I can save this there. So if I just came back to the context, this is where we are saving everything. So I just want to say existing profile data, existing profile data. Okay, and then this, I will just give it from Prisma. I'll just say existing, maybe, yeah, it's a thing called doctor something, doctor profile, just like that, from Prisma. And and I don't know if we need to give it anything. So I think for simplicity, I'm just going to call it any. Okay, and inside here on, we have also, of course, also set existing, set existing profile data. Now we already have profile. Just name this existing, maybe we just call this one db data, maybe db which name can describe this. I could just name it saved db data, something like this, so that we just name. So saved db data. So this would be a function which takes in data of any type and returns void. Okay, so I would also just go ahead and create for it the initial data. So const initial saved data would equal to an object. I think just like an empty object is enough. We don't need to put anything. And for this, we just need to go ahead and in this initial data, actually just save the bring this automatically here. I don't think we need to do this. So just go to where we have initial data. Okay, here. So we have saved something. Just copy this. Just going to copy these two here. Return void. There is none of this. I'm just going to scroll down to where we have initial context data. So just simply pass in this. Here we're just going to give it an empty object. And then saved. This one is going to be this and returns this. As simple as that. Then we have to go ahead and have something also like this one. So you could literally go ahead and duplicate this, which is saved something. Could also just go ahead and copy these from here. I cannot remember these, but what you're just trying to do here is adding this into state, just like this. Okay, and then this one is type any. Okay, remove this. So initially just going to pass in an object just like that, and then just go ahead, these two, just add them in here. Saved db data, just going to go ahead and just add them in here. Okay, great. So now when we go to the tracking number, one thing we can update is here after getting this, we can just say, for instance, first go ahead and get it here. const just from use onboarding context, and then they just go ahead and extract saved something db data and set db set saved, and actually we just only need the set. Okay, just like this. And now this we can just go ahead after submitting, so go ahead and say set saved db data to res dot data. Okay, let's see. Okay, so we have set this. Now this is going to update gets the data and updates it in that. So now how are we going to maneuver all this data or put this data in place? Okay, how are we going to get all this data in place? So sincerely speaking, we would go to each individual form, but what I'm thinking in my mind is, can we just get this from this side? Let me hope we have no errors yet. Okay, can we set this as we are still in the context, more especially where we are setting the initial data? Okay, because we are setting all these to be, for instance, initial biodata, we could just come here and we say, for instance, it is saved. So for instance, we have saved I don't know if this has even access. Does it have access somewhere? If I try to access the saved, I don't think we have access here yet. Though we have access this side down here. Okay, we have access to this saved. Okay, mm-hmm. Alternatively, actually, let's just go and meet it from this side. So I'm just going to go back to the onboarding forms. Okay, I'm just going to go to the onboarding forms. Onboarding. Just go back here on the onboarding forms. So we have our forms here. Okay, we have our forms here, just like that. Okay, and by the way, so one thing we have to do, specifically for this biodata, we're just going to first make an if statement, more especially here. Okay, this can create, so can just say if form data, form id. So if the form id exists, it will do something. Okay, else. Okay, so just do this, and then here is going to do also the raise. This is going to be update doctor profile, and then we just take in the form. ID with the data. So you have to do this if statement simply because okay, now here we have this complaint can't find raise. Okay, of course, so just copy all these. Okay, just all this. We can just go ahead and just put them inside here. Okay, and then the same thing to the other ones. Also paste it here. I don't think there is something big that changes. Just a minute. I just want to copy if here from here. We don't need the create. So we have if raise. Just copy only the if statement. Paste it here. So possibly undefined because of this ID. So here we could just say if raise, and we can just like put the condition like that. Okay. Yeah. So this I think here just going to say profile doctor biodata updated. So you just say biodata updated successfully. Okay, so if this works, if we have some data in here. Okay. Okay, so now let's just take this scenario and we have the saved data. So the good thing is we can come on these pages where we had on top here, where we had, for instance, the biodata. We can also go ahead and get, for instance, the saved data. So you can say saved DB data, just like this. We can also get this DB data. Now, where do we actually take this? Okay. So I think alternatively, what just to do is put this default values. I'm not sure if, for instance, you put in, for instance, save data here, if this causes problem. It doesn't. So we could just say here, okay. We could say, what can we say? For instance, I wanted to do it from here, like for instance, biodata or default or saved. I don't know if this makes sense. Okay. And then for these other ones, for instance, we have this initial DB to this. Okay, so we have initial biodata dot or saved DB data dot dob. Okay, so we'll do something like this. It would check if it is in this or if it is in this. Okay, so we have to do that for, I think that's the only thing we have to do, I guess, for all of them. Let's try that and see if it bears some results. I'm just going to go here where we have additional data. I'm just going to put a comma saved db data. And for like this one, just say O is going to be saved db data dot additional docs, just like this. And you could just go in our context API and give save db data. The data types, I gave it any for simplicity. So we have the additional docs here, I think only. And then default value, just say O. I just say O saved. I don't know if this will take a priority at some point. I'm not sure. And go to biodata. I've done that. Contact. So contact, we just only need to change inside here. First get the saved data. Let me just try by the way to get it, and I see if it can automatically get it. If I just say saved, it doesn't. So you have to go here and get it. Saved db data. Now we can just go ahead and use it in the use saved db data. Contact, we are done. Educational, just first go and get it from in here. Saved db data. For these other ones, you have to just say O saved db data dude, and then you have to know that this, I'm assuming they have, sorry, I'm assuming they have this same thing in the database. That is a very complicated assumption, actually. Wow. Because the names we gave here, the actual names are these ones while we have data. That is something to know. We'll cross-check with the biodata. And this is what TypeScript would save us, and we gave any. I feel like I didn't want to fill in all the fields, but finally this can bite you back. So for instance, is this what we saved? So you have to check in the data. So it is DOB. Okay. Contact, we don't have education. Okay, we have the docs. So here is called education data dot. So this here, it has to be saved dot this. That's the docs, and then here we have to say stroke saved db data. Same thing to the practice. Okay. Just go and say practice. We just have to add it here. And let's just go ahead and do this. It is saved db data dot services offered, the way they are here. And then this is saved db data dot insurance, and then finally we have this passing in here, which is saved. Okay. And then the last one is, I think, profile info. So we have here saved, and then we're just going to go here and update saved db-data.medical license. Then here is saved db-data.profile image. Okay, and we'll just go ahead and then pass in here saved db data. Okay, so this is what we got. So now we need just to go ahead and see this ID, and let's go ahead and get the stuff here. I'm just going to close out this one. Okay. So we need to get I don't know if it was this one, and let's remove this. I think it was this one. Submit, and we don't have anything. So what I would is also console the saved. On this point here, where is it? I think I can just console in any of these ones. Like for instance, on every page I can just say console.log saved db data. And also in the context, I'm just also going to go ahead and console it so that we know if it updates. So I'm just going to say context, just I think, where is it? I remember us putting it in here. What? Oh, it is here. So I'm just going to say console.log saved db data. So I just go to the console. Okay. Clearly you might find that we did not save it. So you can see it is empty. Okay. Let me just go to at least one profile. Profile. I want to go to Prisma Studio. Check for existing profile. So we have a tracking number of this, and they just go and check with that one. I'm just going to cross, or in fact, just go to localhost 3000 onboarding, and they just want resume. Okay, so you just need to put in this. Okay, submit. Okay, so we are on this. Now let's check onboarding. We have this context. Yeah, it has some data actually. Okay, so the data is there. In the context, let's go to the biodata. Some data is there. Okay, I understand. So if you just see in the profile, for instance, the dates are there. If you go to contact, in fact, here in the profile, the image must be there. Okay. And then here. So you see some things are there. Why are these files not there? Oh, okay. The files are according to the way they are saved. Uh, it is very hard to get them according to where they are saved. And then here, okay. I expected, okay, we had not reached on this step. We had stopped on this step. Okay, so what is not working is actually this option. Okay. What is not working is, I'm just going to go, for instance, to the biodata. So biodata, what is, these ones are working. So you can see, for instance, the initial DB is actually working. If you go here, that date of birth is working. What is not working is this default values. Okay, so what I'm just going to do is copy this the way it is, cut it. Okay, so on top here, I'm just going to say const default, const default values is equal to this. Maybe we just create default data for that case. Default data, and just go here and we say default data. I guess it should decide default data. I don't know why it is not deciding on that case. Okay. How are we going to pass the default value? So if I just come here and I say saved data, if I come here and say saved data, okay, so still with the saved data, uh, the saved data is only updating this one. I think it's just because of the type that this one should be of this type. What if I just make this one any? Does it make it any better? No. Okay. So how about saying this? So we have default values. If I pass them one by one, for instance here, I'm just going to say this was of type bio data. So if I just say like this, I can just get, for instance, first name. And I can say first name is, we could just give it to biodata dot first name, or we could just have saved dot first name, just like this. So does this change? It doesn't. And By the way, when this console is coming from context, I wanted the one coming from, does this data really reach this side? Biodata form actually. And first name is here. I don't know why in here, for instance, the first name is not working. So if I just say here, Margaret, can this update? Oh, something is not right. Okay. Uh, something is not right. Let's go ahead and try one more time. Okay. Just going to go to this step, this point where we have this. We're supposed to have onboarding resume, I guess. And we need to get here a tracking number. So I'm just going to go ahead and get a tracking number. I need to confirm. Okay. So when you just say submit, so this here, I want to go to this. Okay, so now we have Margaret. Okay. Did I? Yeah, so you can see now we have Margaret. Okay, we have Margaret, but if we remove it and we say default values, mm-hmm, mm, I just want to come here and I just say, for instance, default biodata or saved. So if you just do this, for some reason it doesn't work, but if you put the actual data, it works. Why? So I just want to go back this side. Okay, refresh. So I just want to go here and put the tracking number. I think it is this one. Save. Go back to biodata. Okay, so the name is not there. So we have to go ahead and define the default values uh, manually. Let me just do this for this one. I'm just going to go ahead and paste, copy paste from the context. So for the biodata, a minute context. I just want to do Control F bio data. Okay, so default values. So I just need the initial. Just copy these ones because they're the ones. So I'm just going to go here and paste in this object like this. Pasting it in here. So first name would be biodata dot first name or saved data dot first name. Just simply duplicate this here. Okay, so just copy this, Ctrl C, and let's paste it for all of them. Okay, so this is last name, so just copy last name. So wherever there is first name, just do this. Middle name, Ctrl C, first name, DOB, just do this, gender, okay, page. So I don't know at this point if we need page, okay, page, not really, okay, we just like maybe just also add it there. So just Ctrl C, first name, user ID. So for the user ID, I guess for the user ID will be there, I guess. So user ID, so just go here, biodata. For the user ID will be there, so just add the tracking. Okay, so just do something like this. Okay, so we have to pass in the default values. Okay, all of them like this: first name, last name, middle name, DOB. And let's go ahead and test this. Okay, so we want to go ahead and test for this. I'm just going to go back, pass in this. In fact, let's first refresh and then go ahead and pass in this, submit. Okay, so let's go the first form. Okay, so we have all the information now populated. Okay, we have all the information populated, which is good. Okay, this is good. So you have to do this for all these, all this. So the easiest way is just go and test the second one. Then I will leave this to you. Okay, as an assignment. So we have this, copy this, and we have to go to the profile data, which again is the second one, profile. Okay, so the profile, profile. So just go here in the default values and just pass in an object like this. So for the profile picture, so we actually have already updated the profile picture up there. So the only thing is the bio. So just go and say it is profile data dot bio, or saved data dot bio. So just duplicate this, just like this. For the page, okay, so just say page. It is here, page, medical license, expiry. So for expiry, we have already set it, but it's okay. And then this one finally is going to be profile data dot years, or is going to be is going to be saved db data dot base. Okay, so we have that. We're just going to go ahead and test. Go back, refresh, add this, submit. Okay, so let's go biodata. We have the biodata. Profile, we have the profile. Okay, so this is good. And so this is what you're going to do. So we need to make sure this is working all the way. So we see it has to work with both this and tracking. Okay, and we could just go ahead and do this for all the info, for all this, the contact. So just go to the context. Next is initial contact, which is here. Copy this object and let's go to the contact form and just go to where we have default values here, and we can just simply make this an object, paste in these, and let's get all these ones. So this one is going to be contact data dot email, or is going to be saved saved data dot email. Okay, something like that. And why am I having this here? Okay, I'm just going to duplicate this to all of them. Okay, so let's just go ahead. This is phone. So here you have to go ahead and add phone. Country. This is country, city. State. Finally the page. Okay, so this one is done. Next is educational. So just going to go to the educational, go to the context. We have educational data. Just copy this, go back to the educational info, and we are only updating this part. So medical school is going to be education data dot medical, or is going to be saved data dot medical school. Okay, and just copy this to all of them. Now some like these other ones, we already have them outside, so we don't need these ones. Okay, so paste in here. Okay, so this is grad year. This is specialization. And finally page. Okay, great. Next is practice info. Okay, so for the specialization, I guess we had already done it over here up. Okay, so you just have to go to the next one, which is practice, I guess. So just go and get the practice from the context. Okay, just you can just get this. Control C. Just go to the practice info. Practice info, and just looking for the use form here. So let's just go ahead and update this. I'm just going to go and say this is practice data dot hospital name, or is going to be the save data dot hospital name. Just going to copy all this this one. Let me just copy this and just going to add it where we have this. Okay, so this is hospital address. Just change hospital address. Contact number, just change this. Email address, change this. Hospital website, just go ahead and change this. And then we have this insurance. Okay, just have this page. Just copy page. Then have this. And how I'm selecting this is by Control D to select the same instances. Hospital hours. So just this is going to be practice data dot hospital hours of operation, or saved data dot hospital, just like that. Now for the services, we already added them up. Okay, so the last one is the additional information. Okay, so just going also to do this additional information. Okay, so additional information, you could just first go also to the context, and let's go and get this additional information, and just going to go ahead and additional information, just go ahead and in here just pass this object just like this. So this would be this would be additional data dot education, for instance history, or saved data, of course, dot education history. Let's just copy this, all these ones. And for these docs, you can remove them because they are not in the form. So research is copy research. Okay. Accomplishments, and then page. Okay. So we have all. Let's just go and test one more time. We have added for all the data. So I'm just going to go ahead, go to the localhost 3000, onboarding, resume, refresh. Okay, let's add this and submit. Okay, so you can see this time we have the practice information populated, Okay, for these hospital services, let's see, this was practice information. Practice information. We have hospital services. Okay. First of all, how did we call this in the database? Is called services offered. So this is initial data. Initial services is, for some reason we cannot get them. Practice data, services offered, save data dot services offered. We come and use this as the initial services. And then this insurance accepted. Yeah, you can see here, no, it's selected. Let's check in other places like education, yep, mental health. Now, for some reason, this is there. All this information is there. Okay, a few of the information that is missing, for instance, the services. You don't know why like services are not populated, because if you just go and check on this object, clearly you can just check that this, I don't know if it is this one. So for instance, services offered, we have here services offered as medicine. For instance, here we have the services offered, but then here we are not getting them. I can just guide and console.log services. Services, and along with initial services. Okay, this is line 43. I just need line 43. Line 43 is saying we have empty, everything is empty. I don't know why that is so, because save data dot um that services offered is there. Okay, let me just try to remove this, and I just leave the remove this. I leave only save data. Okay, so this would put medicine. This would put medicine, and that means that, how about if I use, instead of this, I use this. I don't think that changes anything. Okay. So here we would say, for instance, for this case, we would have to check the length, I guess. Okay, here we would have to check the length of this. If we just say dot length, is greater than 0. Okay, if it's greater than 0, then we would just take this. If this is true, then take this, else take this. I think that one it should work. Oh, I've refreshed. Did I? Okay, so now after that, you can see we have this. Okay, we have this now. I don't know. So that means it should work. I think the next time we try. Okay, this should work the next time we try. Okay, so we have to use this condition for the arrays where we have arrays, otherwise it will not work. Okay, otherwise it will not work, because an array, if you are checking if it exists, it will exist. So here we have to check the length instead. So you can just go to where we have the arrays, where we're having the arrays, like here. Okay, just do like this and copy this. So if this dot length is greater than 0, take this. If this is true, or just change this into this. Okay. For the certificates, it will not work, but still we can just like go ahead and do that. We might not be able to visually show because of this file here. We would have to manipulate a lot to put in this, because we are not saving a file in this format. If we are saving the title, size, and URL, it would be possible, but now it is not. Okay, but with that, let's just go and check one more time. I'm just going to go to this URL, refresh. Okay, refresh and add this, go. Okay, practice information. So you can see now medicine is there. Okay, you can see medicine is there. You can just now see everything. Now we have it clearly the way it's supposed to. Okay, so you see here special services is there, except these ones which we need to work on if you want to show them. It is not so hard, because what is interested is the file name. In fact, the file itself. Okay. So one thing I'm just going to change is saving this last one. So the last one, when someone saves this, we need to send an email. I think the video has really extended. We might send the email in the next episode. Okay. So in the next episode is what you're just going to go ahead and send the email. Okay. So thank you so much for watching this episode. I will see you in the next one.